All right, folks, welcome on into another edition of the High School Huddle, your one-stop shop for everything and all things Section 5 sports. I'm AJ Feldman. He's Carl Jones. And Carl, we have a very exciting episode of the podcast, not only because we have a special guest coming on in just a few minutes, but because our weather chat today is going to be so gosh darn optimistic, Carl.
Oh my lordy, we got 50 degrees in February. What's going on? Like whatever deal Eric Snyder, our meteorologist, made with Mother Nature, please double down on that one. All right, continue it. I'm in heaven. I'm walking down up and down Park Avenue, with just a hoodie on. I'm feeling good out here, man. But no, I'm really excited for this episode. Obviously, getting the chance to sit down with the guests that we have is always dope. And then with the special initiative for this occasion is also cool, and to get to talk about that as well as cool. So everything about it, the weather good, conversation good. I'm in heaven.
Yeah, I've got tentative plans for a tea time on Friday, perhaps some tennis getting in the mix. I mean, it is February 8th right now. You really can't ask for much better. And it's a little bit ironic because I remember the first time there was Matt Trabold week, the first time, everybody went out and did it, immediately after his passing. It was like, I think, March or April football, and we got like a 55, 60 degree day. The joke running around was like, okay, Trabs enjoys the fact that we're wearing all these shorts, but he went nice on us this year. So he looks like he's doing the same. And as we just alluded to, our special guest this week, Karen and Gerard Iglesia from Primetime 585, our partners now at Primetime 585, coming on talking about mental health awareness, Matt Trabold week, It's Okay to Not Be Okay, as well as the Section 5 basketball season, which is really heating up. The last week of the regular season is essentially this week now. We've got 7 days left of action. We're getting into the playoffs. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into that interview. Here's Karen and Gerard Iglesia with all things Section 5. And it is now time to welcome in Karen and Gerard Iglesia from Primetime 585 here to talk basketball, Section 5 sports, a little bit of mental health awareness. But first of all, thanks for joining us once again on the podcast. We appreciate you guys coming on every year. It's a little bit of a different capacity this year because the past couple times we've had you on, you're just our friendly neighbors from a gym, a field, a pool, things like that. But now, as we've mentioned on the show many times before, we're in a little bit of a partnership, News 8 and Primetime 585 teaming up. Just first off, what have you kind of enjoyed about, working with us here at News 8? What, we love having you guys out on a Tuesday. What are the kids saying about it? Just what exactly has this whole experience been for you guys like so far?
I love it. It was funny because it's funny that you asked, because just this morning I was talking to Wendy and I shared a text with her because Carl went to wrestling this weekend, and the parents were so happy that they texted me. Like, it's like, since you guys have been with Channel 8, we could see the expansion. They were so appreciative. I said, well, this should really be going to Carl. Like this is a message that we go in the Carl. But I think what I love about it is the expansion of everything. Like today, we're both doing swimming, right? We rely on each other. We'll text each other. We communicate pretty much 4 or 5 times a week. I think that we're showing kids in all different lights. And that's what I would say. What about you, Gerard?
Well, to me, what I love is the awards show. I think that's huge for Section 5 kids.
Yeah, they want to see themselves on TV.
Yeah.
Don't we all though? Don't we all though? But like, just to give you guys more of y'all flowers, back during Bill season, there was a day where we couldn't fit you guys on the normal Tuesday slot just for how much news it was. And I kid you not, that was like, look, you can't end the broadcast without saying prime time that we still with them. They'll be on tomorrow though. I promise you can't do that. He said you can't scare the kids off, this, that, and the third. So like, just to give you all y'all flowers, like the people at home, they love y'all. They love y'all energy and y'all vibes. So it's cool how we've been able to connect and collaborate over the past few months, because I've enjoyed it. And I know AJ and Thad have as well.
Yeah, we enjoy the professionalism that you guys bring to our platform, and all your support. It's been great.
It's so funny because now I walk in and they're like, are you representing Channel 8 or Primetime? when I go to events, I was like, we all use it. It's all love. It might end up on, we don't know. It's all love. And it's like funny because the bowling sectionals, I think, is like next Wednesday, right? So they sent me an email. The bowling section sent me an email and says, now that you're with Channel 8, we thought that maybe you guys could, you covered it last year. Maybe it could end up somewhere on the news as well as your platform. So I think it opens up a little bit more for the kids. It adds validity to us, what we do. We're a little bit different as far as we're not journalists, but we show love to the kids. We know sports. I love the relationship. I was telling Wendy today, I said, I need to send this to Carl, because they're sending stuff to me that belongs to Carl for thanking you for coming to cover wrestling. So those are the things. And I'm really reachable. So like kids could reach out to me, parents could reach out to me. I literally have my phone number on everything. They text it and I'll text back. So those are things. And Channel 8 will always come up. Thank you. They could see the difference. They'll go to our drop-down menu and they could see themselves. And it's as close to being as TV as possible as being on your website. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really a big help, especially during Bill's season. We're running around, we can't get out to everything. You guys can't get out to everything, but when we combine our forces, we get pretty good. And the spotlight segments themselves, the spotlight team of the week on our Tuesday, it's one thing we're able to get to, the big stories. We get out to Athena and, we sit down with the Reeves brothers because, they're undefeated. They're doing their things, but it's tough for us to get out to, some great stories like what's going over on at East Rochester Wrestling. You guys were at the cheerleading over at Penfield. So to just get those different perspectives and stories that we wouldn't be able to get out, I know, the kids appreciate it. I know we appreciate it as well.
Thank you guys. Appreciate that too.
All right, so let's get down to it. With the Primetime collaboration, you guys are getting out to hockey and swimming and cheerleading and wrestling and all that, but we know the bread and butter. We're here to talk some Section 5 basketball as we approach the sectional playoffs here. We've had some, great games upcoming in the weeks, things in general. But first, let's just go big picture. As we're approaching sectionals, just your big takeaways from the season so far. Maybe what you've noticed, what you're looking forward to coming up as we get down to crunch time in the sectional playoffs.
I think the most underrated, shocking team for me from beginning to end that's kind of quiet was Penfield. Penfield, we didn't see that at the beginning of the season. We all will talk. We don't have the big teams on there, the victors and no one was really talking Penfield, to be honest, at the beginning of the season.
They're so young too.
And they have Jackson Green. They have another Jackson Green. He's only a ninth grader. Christian Zarzicki. So I don't think that we saw that coming. They've beaten some good teams. They're quiet about it. They got a Trevor Hofer who could shoot the heck out of the ball. So to me, from beginning to end, they were the most surprising team because we just didn't see it coming. We didn't think they were bad. We just didn't know how good they were going to be. I think to me, that was the most surprising of team. What about you?
In that AA, I would also say Hilton.
Yeah.
Because Hilton, we thought they'd be good, but we didn't think that they'd be this good where they're pushing Greece Athena to the very end.
Yeah, to the last second.
And they've been doing that to everybody all year.
Yeah. I mean, Sneddon is so good. Like, he's one of the best big men in Rochester. His footwork is great. He's just a tough guy. Sneddon is really, really impressive. Really like everything about him. But he didn't make that much noise last year, right? And so they're also a big surprise compared to, but some sneaky teams, I'm going to say Schrader's a sneaky team. They sneaky as heck.
Yeah, they beat Victor yesterday.
They beat Victor, by Thursday. They beat Victor last night. They've beaten somebody else. Fairport, I think they beat. They're like a really sneaky team.
Those are two other teams in AA. Since we're sticking on AA,
yeah.
Greece Athena, undefeated. But man, there's 3 times where it looked like they were going to be defeated.
I think it might be up to 4 or 5 or 6 at this point now.
They were down. I was at that game. They were down 13 going into the 4th. And I kid you not, everything that could go wrong went wrong. They had 2 technicals. Everybody's in foul trouble. Connie Ozier's in foul trouble. Isaiah Reeves. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. And then I feel like Corey said, wait a minute, I'm one of the best players. Let me turn this thing on. Right, Carl, me and you were at that, another game, he did that. We're like, where did it, boy, you need to have this on all the time.
3 times they entered the fourth quarter down by like 13, 14 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just good.
Victor is in that bracket.
And when you have the Garrett Clares and the and Hopkins playing great.
Man.
You know, what, 30 something?
Hopkins is nice.
33 against Penfield, 28 the other night. Like, you know, so that it's loaded. That double A is loaded.
Yeah, so you have Athena,
Yep.
Penfield, Hilton, Victor, Webster Schrader. I mean, it's
Any of them could take it.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that double A class?
I'll go first. I think it's gonna be boys and girls is gonna be lit first off. But I think what's cool about it though is the fact that they all play different styles, and we always talk about how styles make fights and things of that nature. I think Athena is the one that can play whatever because they have the shooters, they have the guys that can get downhill, they can press, they can play it slow. But it is unique on how they can play you up 20. They've also been very comfortable down 13, and I think that's kind of unique with how they're built together, where they have 3 brothers and then a 4th cousin, quote unquote. Y'all know how that go.
Yeah.
And so like they don't really, really panic in those moments because they really family out there on the floor. So they're unique. Fairport, I mean, I don't know if we've talked about them enough, but I mean, listen, if Lashard Lowry and Aiden White are out of foul trouble, good luck stopping them. So like,
if Fairport's actually AAA.
they're AAA. My bad, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But like, regardless, there's just so much love in that AA bracket on both boys and girls. That's really exciting this year.
Yeah.
To me, I think when you have I think 6 or 7 of them can take it. Like nobody's like, my concern is that Athena gets comfortable being down 13 and trying to fight back. But I think in sectionals, people play differently. So you don't want to be down 13 when everything is on the line. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't like the fact that they were able to dig themselves out 4 or 5 times like that, because that might not happen when it's, another team is going like, wait a minute, they're going to push them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like, you can go, Gerard.
I was going to say, I would say they're the most athletic team in AA, and on the big floor at the Blue Cross Arena, that helped.
That's an advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's that situation where you almost wonder if they want to lose one of these games just to knock them down and motivate them a little bit. And the thing that I've been saying about Athena all year is that, they're up here. It's going to be so tough for a team to beat them when they drop down a level, because they have so many guys that one of their players is going to have a good shooting night. Someone's going to be able to put the ball in the hoop. So there's not a lot of room for Athena to play down to their level of competition, where another team's going to have to, raise their game to beat them, I think is the big thing with Athena. Because I don't remember in recent years, at least, a team having, really like 2 bona fide number 1 options and then 3, other, starters that can get it going on any given night, even some guys off the bench who can do things. They might be the most, they're a team like Victor last year when they were so balanced, but at the same time, they also have that star power. I don't know, the last time we've seen that really in Section 5 recently.
Any one of those 5 guys could give you 20 points.
And honestly, Connor Ozier is just like, I love it. First of all, I look at Connor Ozier as their light-skinned brother. Like, seriously. Well, that's inappropriate to say. Okay.
Everybody said
You know what I'm talking about. They people understand. Connor is their light-skinned brother. Like, he is like the
they're
cousin.
literally like brothers.
No, because they've been playing
That's
together since Grab League. They've been together since they were 5 or 6 years
They
old.
stay at each other's house.
So he's like a part of that family, right? But Connor is such a competitor that he will sacrifice his body. He will do whatever. He will dive. And there's things that Connor Ozier does that you just cannot put in a stat sheet at all. Like, he's just, to me, he's kind of like the X factor, a little bit, like where he's the one that kind of brings them all together, to me.
Yeah, and no center in Section 5 is going to have a big advantage over him. Not in that bracket.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm happy for them. They're the only undefeated team left. But man, it's like art watching them. Like they play bad. Setzer does a really, really good job. I know what AJ was saying. AJ saying they're all balanced, but they got the star. But they're still balanced. No one thinks they're better than each other. They're still, and that's hard to do. Think about the coach having to manage that. That's a lot to manage, right? Like, so he does a really good job in balancing that. And I've seen Corey step up to be such a leader, on the court. He got fouled out. He just does the right things because he's the older brother in the situation. He knows he's the leader, but he doesn't act like, oh, I'm better than you guys. So I really like that balance about him.
But again, they're susceptible. I mean, Hilton almost beat them. Hilton got some shooting guards. I mean, who else?
Bianchi on that team. Sned is on that team. They're a danger. Hilton is a dangerous team.
Schrader just beat Victor
last night. Yeah.
Schrader's got some players. They got Inslee.
So let's talk about Schrader players. Y'all, I know Carl gonna like this. Carl, you like Anthony DeRozan, don't you?
Oh yeah, he tough. I like him. I like him.
There's a football player playing basketball who don't care.
He's tough. He's real tough. Yeah.
When people see him play, people like this. But he don't look like a basketball player. He will drop. He'll give you 24. He will give you 24 and let you think about it. He's tough. He knows he's a football player, right? He knows it's lacrosse first for him, then football, then basketball. People don't know he's a 3-sport athlete. He's going to college for lacrosse. He was one of the star football players for Schrader. Basketball is his third sport, and he's their leading scorer on the team. Like, that's crazy to me. That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's looking forward to Victor's gonna be real good, like we said.
Yeah.
It's really coin toss. It's about matchups.
What do you think about AAA, guys?
AAA's, I mean, what is there to think of this? There's 7 teams. I think literally all 7 teams have a chance to win this thing. I mean, I know you guys have been talking up UPrep all year with how well they've played against a really tough schedule. I think they kind of proved that earlier this week when they took down Aquinas. McQuaid.
But then McQuaid took them down.
What was that?
McQuaid just beat them on Saturday.
Yeah, and McQuaid, they've been struggling. They're like 7 games under 500. They're losing all these close ones, but then they can come out and beat UPrep.
Yeah.
You got Franklin. It's kind of that, that guard versus forward type thing. Thompson twins. It's going to be really, a lot of teams can win that bracket. Rush Henrietta coming on down the stretch, Taggart and what they got going.
There's some teams who might not win it, but they could knock off one of the favorites.
Yeah. Rush Henrietta playing good.
Yeah.
Rush Henrietta, I like Council. Council playing good. Taggart is playing good. I mean, like, it's the end of the year, so you can kind of see it coming together for some of these guys and some of these teams. Rush Henrietta is gonna get somebody some runs, y'all. Yeah. I'm telling you, don't sleep on them.
Aquinas, they started out like gangbusters, 13-0, but then they're like 3-3 the last 6 games. So they're vulnerable.
But they're vulnerable. But
really
I'm about to say they still got Chris Lathback. They still got Nooney. They still got Anderson. They got Mackie Terry and Breedlove, and that's a team. But I agree with AJ. Anybody can win that bracket. Yeah. Anybody. Yeah.
Now we've been giving so much love to the big dogs, and rightfully so. It's fun. AA, AAA, they're exciting to watch. But one advantage that y'all do have, and collaborating with y'all is cool. Y'all get out to no man's land, no disrespect, and y'all be out there and y'all get mad love. Unfortunately, I don't be able to get out there as much. But to the places that are not Monroe County for those at home, right. Whether it's a team that's excited you, whether it's the atmosphere, because I know some of those smaller schools, just the atmosphere itself is lit. Like when I go out to Avon, I feel like they right on top of you, especially when it's a sectional game. So what are some of the smaller schools, whether it's a Class B and down, right? That's really exciting when y'all go out there.
Fun to watch is Hornell. Hornell boys got the 3 Pico brothers, right? They got Marco Pico, who's in 10th grade, PJ Pico, who's in 11th grade, and Janera Pico, who's now the leading scorer in school history, right? But so that's the uniqueness of having 3 Picos. The uniqueness of it, since they've been there, they're also the star players on the soccer team and they won 2 of the last 3 sectionals in soccer with those 3 brothers. But they legit can play some basketball out in Hornell. So like Hornell could come and give some teams in Monroe County a run, like real talk.
Absolutely, yeah. Them and Avon.
Them and Avon, like real talk.
And York. They beat Bishop Kearney, who's playing real well right now.
York got Jake
He
Pangrazio.
got 46 on Kearney.
Right, 46 and 14, right? So York got, and who's also now the leading scorer in in that school. York can play with anybody. They really can. So people think like small schools, can they handle? Newark is athletic. They pass the ball. They got Kellen. I mean,
Kellen Foster. Yeah.
So I love Avon.
I'll tell you who else is good. Lions is very good.
Lions, another team. Like we
Baby
saw
Shack.
Lions.
Yeah.
They can play with some of these Monroe County teams. So yeah, we've been to no man's land, but we're glad we kind of went to no man's land. And for girls going to no man's land, honestly, I like how Minders play. Minders coach is Berkey. And Matt Berkey, you guys are too young. You guys are in your 20s. I got shoes older than you guys. So Matt Berkey was like scored like 62 points in a sectional match back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Now both his daughters are playing for him at Minders, right? Like, so there's a lot of basketball legacy there. So I walk into Minders, right? Let me tell you how far reach Primetime goes. Walk into Minders, they got this little 8-year-old girl right at the table, right? So when I walked in, she saw me, she was like, "Hey girl."
Out in Minders?
We are an hour away out of Rochester and a black folk out in Minders, right? So the mom was like, she follows you, she loves your energy, she wants to grow up to be like you, she like your nail. So she watches my show and she, like when I say, "Hey girl," so the moment she saw me walking, "Hey girl," I was like, cross over in Minders, okay? But that's a quick story. But I like they play really good ball. Palmac, those girls, they came into the city. They played against Saddles at that game. They played against East, who's very good, and they got goodness, right? They got Taryn goodness. They're really good for the girls' part for small schools. East Rochester's always going to be competitive with the Eldridge sisters. Zariah Eldridge and Anaya Eldridge, they're going to always be competitive as far as small schools are concerned.
Waterloo's really good.
Yo, Waterloo's good, y'all. Waterloo girls, really good.
They won states a couple of years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago they won state.
Yeah, and did they win sectionals last year?
And they won sectionals last year.
And they lost everybody.
And
but
they're still
rolling.
They're still good. So and then Gananda girls got the 3 sisters, right? The Cruz sisters. So I like these stories when I have siblings playing with each other on the same team. So they got the Cruz sisters there, Nicole Cruz and all those, but they're good too. They've only lost 2 games, I believe. Gananda, and what's her name? Haley Marvin left Gananda. She's at Wayne.
Yep.
And they're struggling, but when you got a Haley Marvin,
who's a D2 commit,
anything could happen in sectional. She's getting to jail with her teammates. So you can't. They beat Palmac for the first time, I believe, in 5 years. This has never happened before since she got there. So there's a lot of dynamics there. In girls, especially the small schools. We know a lot of the small schools, and I'm glad we went to give them some small school love because you learn a lot going out there.
Again, Lions
girls. They got Jayla Bell and her sister Janiyah Bell. The sister's only in 7th grade. Yesterday she had 14. She had 10 points, 14 rebounds, 8 steals, 6 assists, 3 blocks. The 7th grade sister had that. So, and they got Melania Glinton on that team. They got Jayla Bell on that team. So, I mean, I know the large schools too, and I give a lot of large school love, but I make it my business to know the small schools too, because there's some good basketball out there on the boys and the girls side. Real talk.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about no man's land. Hornell. If we put a Hornell highlight on TV, they're so far down south, they don't even get our station. So that's how far, Section 5 can go. So we're glad we get them on the internet, on the where everybody gets the internet, because they do get the internet out in Hornell. Last time I checked.
They're about an hour 20, hour and a half away.
Yeah.
And then talking about some of the big school girls basketball, it kind of feels like this year, like we say always, everybody can beat everybody, but we kind of have like a Mariah Watkins sized hole in AA basketball this year, where you've got all these teams. And they're all kind of led by these, juniors and sophomores. Rylan Fehrenbach, you got Mallory Hayes, Asia Wilson. So I think AA is going to be not only fun just because anybody can beat anybody, but a large chunk of these teams, there's some seniors at Canandaigua and things like that. But a lot of these teams are just going to kind of run it back next year. They're going to have a lot of players returning. So it's almost like a little two-year series here.
Yeah, like Rylan Fehrenbach, they played Canandaigua, right? Is it Canandaigua? They played Hilton 2 nights ago, right?
Yeah, I was
she
at
dropped
that game.
36 and what? It was 36 and 18 rebounds or something
Yeah, I think
ridiculous.
she had 34. Mallory had 30. If I'm getting that right, yeah.
Yeah, 30. But you're right. Like the younger girls are kind of leading Section 5 right now. To be honest with you, I agree with AJ that the younger cats are really leading that. And you're right. We're going to run this back because the majority of the teams, their star players are either sophomores or they're juniors. Same thing with Sutherland. Petra Hunt is only a 9th grader. She's only a 9th grader. And she's one of their top players there. And she is the softball. That's not even her sport. She is the pitcher for softball and was the 8th grade pitcher. It was a pitcher on that took them all the way. They lost, but took them all the way as an 8th grader as a pitcher. So it just tells you that these young girls are really starring in all different sports.
But if you want to talk about young teams, you got to start with the Aquinas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because I've always said they're going to be the next Bishop Kearney. They're young. No, they're very talented.
they start Misty Green. They start
Lauren Green, yeah.
1 8th grader, 2 9th graders, a 10th grader. That's who they start.
Molly O'Toole.
And so they have a lot of talent, and you're going to see, they've beaten some good teams, and they've lost to some good teams, but you have to remember that they're 8th and 9th graders really playing. Even their bench got a bunch of 9th graders. So I think that's one of the teams to watch, and you can never put anything past them because they got an AJ or ORR. She could shoot it. She's athletic. I think she's only a 9th grader, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So those are that's going to be a talented team. And talk about Bishop Kearney. Bishop Kearney is always going to be Bishop Kearney, right? They have all of them. All of those girls are either collegiate level players, D1 or D2.
Well, 3 of them are.
Yeah. And they're going to win. They have experience at winning.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Hall is their big.
Yeah.
She's a senior.
Mm-hmm.
But Asia Wilson, who's a very, very talented person.
Man, you see her play, Carl?
Yeah, she's.
Listen, let me block out like 20 seconds to talk about Asia Wilson real quick. I seen her like a month ago against Aquinas, and I'm like, she doing some moves that I don't know, like that might be like a travel, but not because like she unathletic. It's because it's so fire. Like it's some NBA stuff where like she doing like 3-step on the way to the rack finger roll. I'm like, then I seen her this past week against Williamsville South, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm like, if she was like 6 foot, we'd be talking about one of them ones for real. Now, granted, she's still unreal. Like she's still like pull up off the screen, crazy finish at the rim. Listen, if you go into a BK game and you're struggling for some highlights, AJ can attest to this. Don't worry, AJ got you. She got you.
Well, the backstory behind her is, I saw her on a Facebook video when she was like in 7th or 8th grade, and she was doing some ball handling stuff that was next level, like far beyond any of her peers. The problem was in her 9th and 10th grade, she had an ACL injury.
Yeah.
So that really set her back. I should say 8th and 9th grade. Last year, she was coming back from 2 years of being out, and then this year, she's hit her stride.
Yeah, she tough.
Yeah.
She's a walking highlight tape. I know y'all love her because y'all ain't never going to not have like a highlight of her at all.
And how about Clarissa Good?
Yeah,
She's
really great. Like she's just stepping right into her sister's footsteps, right? Where they're such a strong defensive team too, and that's some of their that's the advantage with Michigan. They're a very strong defensive team.
Yeah, especially with how many people they've lost to graduation lately, and people going off to prep school and things like that. For them just to keep churning in talented players in and out, obviously a credit to kind of what they've been building there. So, oh, you want to go?
I was going to say, but we can't rule out the defending state champions, and that's Webster Schrader. Yeah, because Bria Watkins, she's playing,
and so is what's her name, Addie Morgan,
Ava Gala, Morales. Yeah, that's a very good team.
Did you guys know that Addie and Rylan Fahrenbeck are sisters?
I did not know that. No,
I ain't know that one.
Yeah, so they're sisters. So Rylan is at Victor, Addie's at Schrader. They're siblings. So that's an interesting. I did a story on them last year. So that's an interesting fact. That's why they both push each other, and they work. I mean, they're working against each other, and then they play each other too. So they're siblings. Just so for the record.
Yeah, I want to take a look at that bracket when it comes out, because if they can meet up in a a semifinal, quarter, championship game, I think we'll be all over that with our fun little story for sectional action. So that'll be coming up in a couple weeks, sectional action. But first, this week is, as we kind of started off the show talking about, it is Matt Trabold week here in Section 5, as we kind of remember the legacy of Matt Trabold, the former 13 WHAM photojournalist who was, a staple in the Section 5 community. Basketball was his passion, but he was going out to every single sporting event. He was, putting everybody on TV, just really lifting people up. Died by suicide just a few years ago. So we honor him every single year with this Matt Trabold week. You guys have done a great job of spearheading it. All the other, over there at WHAM and all the other, communities here in Section 5, the media organizations have taking this a hold, is spreading to different parts, everybody who knew Matt Trabold. So we're in the third year of Matt Trabold week. The hashtag is It's Okay to Not Be Okay. I just want to kind of start off, as you guys have been continuing to do this, you're in your third year, you've gotten to see different kids take a hold of this and kind of, grab it for what it is. How have you kind of seen maybe the evolution of this conversation that you guys have been having over the past couple of years here?
Man, you know what? We didn't expect it to get this big, right? So everybody knows I knew Matt. Matt actually has a lot to do with our platform. When we first started this, Matt actually is the one that kind of validated us, because he was the sports guy, right? So he was the sports guy, and he kept sharing our stuff on his platform. So he would share our stuff on Twitter. He will share our stuff on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever. And he validated us. Because at the end of the day, it's still TV, right? And he's still a TV photojournalist. So when we first started, we probably had maybe a couple hundred followers. And then he just kept sharing our stuff. First person to reach out to me and said, "You are going to be big." Like, he saw this coming. He's like, this is so needed, because how we cover sports in the TV world is so different than how you guys have the capacity to do. We get 5.5 minutes each day to do NBA, high school, blah, blah, blah. And then there's, he taught me there's different times of the year where the NBA and football is on at the same time, and high school sports, something got to give. So sometimes high school sports might just get a thing at the bottom, only get like maybe a minute. So he saw this. He said, this is so needed, so necessary. So he encouraged us. He was a part of, validating us. But Matt was so different. I call him the original Primetimer. When he walked into a gym in them shorts, everybody knew him. They dove a little bit harder. They because he didn't put the star on TV every time. He would put the guy that led to that made the pass in football. He would put that up, or he would show the celebration. So he covered sports in a unique way where it wasn't typical.
That inspired us.
And that inspired us to kind of follow that same methodology. That it could be, you know, that person that came off the bench and hit the 1-3. So he didn't have 40 points, but that 3 made all the difference. Or that person that took that charge that might have fouled out their star player, we're going to highlight that person. So that helped us form who we are covering sports. What's your biggest memory of Matt? I know what it is with Anthony, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he did after Ann graduated or during his senior season, he sent us a highlight reel of Ant. But it wasn't just from high school. It went back to when he was 7 years old.
We don't know where he got this stuff
Yeah.
from. It was like such a random thing, and he must have taken him days to find it and put it together, like literally days. Because, you know, Anthony got MVP of sectionals, and he just sent it to me. He just emailed it to me and said, and sent to us and Anthony and said, I think this, I hope you enjoy this. And it was, and we still use it. And Anthony still has it on his phone. It was like 3 minutes and 54 seconds of just Anthony.
Well, it wasn't just Anthony. It was also Primetime, which was our AAU team, which included Jalen Pickett.
Yes.
You know, so
he had footage from that because we were going to France, and Primetime was winning like AAU tournaments. So Wham had done some stories on Primetime when Anthony was like 9 or 10 years old. Jalen Pickett was in there also, and he found those clips. I don't know where or how. I don't know what their filing system is like, but he sent it to us, and it was just a journey seeing our son from age 7 to 17. And he put it all together from when he took that trophy and held it up for a sectional block. And that, we didn't ask him. It must have taken him days to find that, but that was Matt. And come to find out after he passed away, he did that for other kids. Other kids were saying, oh yeah, he sent me a highlight video of me from the last 3 years. I'm like, really? He was doing that on his own time for kids that, you know, for multiple of kids. We didn't even know that story.
In all kinds of sports, yeah. So
that was Matt. So we honor him because we want kids, young adults. You know, he wasn't even 30 years old. We want young adults. Just send a basic message. We wear shorts. Find your person. You know, the day before Matt took his life, Matt and I was texting. And, you know, to this, sometimes I think, was I not his person? Did he not trust me? You know, like we were texting normal stuff. I saw you, you were smiling. So that's always resonated with me, that we need to have young adults find their person. And that's why this is so important to me. I met up with Dan Fates from Wham just now before I got on here. And they went on to Penfield and they interviewed the big kid, and what's his name? From Emling.
Yeah.
From Penfield boys basketball. And one of the questions he asked was, why is this so important? And he says, because something we have to talk about. As young, we need it to be in the open. It shouldn't be like a dirty word. And hearing the kids say that, and then Dan said 3 years ago, when he interviewed me 3 years ago, no one would talk about this. Why do you keep this up? I said, because people can't make decisions at their lowest point in their lives, and that they can find their person, that it's okay to not be okay, but it's never okay to suffer in silence.
And it had no face. I mean, if you saw Matt, he was always smiling, you know? You know, depression has many faces. It could be a smiling face. It could be somebody who's actually looks sad and everything, but it happens to so many people, and they need to find somebody. At school, it could be the custodian, it could be the gym teacher, it could be the science teacher, it could be a counselor, whatever. But find somebody. Don't think, I don't feel real good and I'm
alone in this.
Yeah, I'm alone in this. No, a lot of people go through it. They said like 40, 50% of teenagers, you know, have mental health issues.
I was fortunately not in Rochester at the time, so I never was able to meet Matt. But by all accounts, obviously what you guys just beautifully laid out, just an awesome human being to be around, and just everything that he just encapsulated as a human being, which is cool to see up close and personal. But how cool is it to see the kids kind of take this initiative by the horns, right? Because obviously we were all kids at one point. I know 7, 8 years ago, I went to an all boys school. If we would have ever brought up the phrase mental health, you would have been looking like, "Hey, bozo, what are you talking about? Like what? Like like you looking like
Yeah.
like tighten up, bro. Like you soft or something. Like whatever. Like
Yeah.
the negative connotation you want to use." So how cool is it for you guys to see from your perspective the kids, the ones who it's not necessarily cool to talk about this, right? Or at first it's not cool. How cool is it to see the growth of this from the kids' perspective and how they're kind of running this?
I want to jump in on that because she got an inbox once and said, Primetime, you don't only change lives, but you save lives too, because he had some thoughts. So, and this has happened a few times. So that's, to me, to get that message out is important.
I also think that like first year was only 8 schools that participated. It was hard to get schools to buy in because exactly what Carl was saying, right? We can't let nobody know that we have problems in our schools. There's no way, like clutching their pearls. So first year was only 8 schools. The second year, maybe like I think we're up to like 16 or 17 schools last year. This year we have 51 schools. Bloomfield, Keshequa, HFL, Wayne, Hilton, Penfield. We just Schrader, Thomas. And then what we do is we gave each school do it how you feel comfortable. So at Thomas, they do videos every day in the lunchroom, and they send it to me. And the video is find your person, and they just go to different kids and ask them, "Who's your person?" So that's how Thomas decided to do it. At Penfield, they have a backdrop. They make little signs that says it's okay to not be okay. Take a selfie, tag us, because they want people to talk about it. All of this for the kids. We just started this. The kids have taken this over and make it their own. So Carl, when you say how cool it is, it's because kids know that other kids are not okay. And the kids are saying to their administrators, I'm going to tell you a backstory. Just today, a school in Section 5, I'm not going to say the school, a school in Section 5, one of the girls approached the principal last week and said, we got to take part in this because there's some things that she went through and it's important to her. The principal said, okay, I know Matt, we'll work it out, so on and so forth. She went back to him today and this morning, and he was like, no, because we don't want to really send a message that,
We don't want to glorify
suicide. So we're not, so she was like, do you think that's going to stop anybody? Do you think we should talk? So she sent a salty email
to her
principal because it was something that she went through, some issues herself. She's seen her friends been through that. So when we don't want to talk about it, the kids are saying, we got this. So I didn't have to do a lot this year. I just kept it up. These 51 schools, I would say about 41 of them were kids driven. 8 or 9 were adult driven. But like HFL, like they got the entire student body wearing shorts tomorrow. I'm speaking at the Wayne Middle School tomorrow. I mean, and it's not just this week. Some people couldn't get me in this week. So we're continuing some of the speaking next week to middle schools to talk about bullying and find your person. But that's just, as you said, the kids have taken this over. And that's what this is all about. Because kids are going to change the world. These adults, you're right, they make it seem like it's dirty. Oh, we can't say anything. But these kids just don't want to openly talk about it, Carl, because it affects them. They've seen their friends, go through, and people understand it's not just suicide, it's depression. It's the mental health aspect that affects so many different kids in so many different ways. And that's what we want to spread the message to let them know. I see you, man. Who's your person? It could be me, and trust me, my inbox show a lot of it is me. Ask him how many messages I get per day.
80, 100.
80. Yeah, I wish. I've had 80 a year, well over 100. And a lot of it is, my boyfriend broke up with me, and now he's dating my best friend. And like they come to me with issues to the point where Primetime put a mental health specialist on our board. That's how serious it got for us because I couldn't answer these questions. I'm not a specialist. So that's why this week, AJ and Carl, it's so important. And thank you, Channel 8, for buying in, for allowing me to do our spotlight in shorts, and for because 3 years ago, I'm not sure Channel 8 would have done that. But now people have seen, like, we got to talk about this for our young adults.
Yeah, and I think and I mentioned this last year, is that one of my favorite parts of the aspect is that the message, it's okay to not be okay. It's a very high stakes issue, but the way you phrase it kind of lowers the stakes, where, you don't have to be depressed to reach out. You don't have to, have suicidal thoughts to go see a therapist. I go see a therapist myself, and I talked to her about it this week, kind of what message she would want to get out about this whole conversation. And the thing that she kind of wanted to bring home is that talking to somebody is always better than not talking to somebody. It doesn't matter who it is. They don't have to be the perfect person. You don't have to have, a teacher who is, it's like a coming of age film where you go to them and you sob your eyes out all the time. You don't have to have a perfect parent. If you're like, I don't know, we don't really talk about this kind of thing. It just can be anybody, because whoever you talk to, if you feel them important enough in your life to bring this to, they're going to care. They're going to want you to get better. And if they can't do it themselves to the level that you need, they can certainly help guide you to that person, which is what you guys are kind of doing here. So I love the message of it's okay to not be okay, and just, normalizing these discussions when they're not at, the levels that some people may think this conversation needs to be had at.
And we appreciate that. And that's part of it. I mean, we consider you guys as young people, where you guys are growing up or in front of a camera or on social media or things like that. So it's different from when we grew up. You guys are growing up in everybody's life is on camera. So it's a little bit different than when we grew up. So we have normalized going to a therapist, normalize all of that, because I believe in working on your mental health just like you do your physical health.
And I think another thing, so we've talked about this last year, but Karen and I, we've spoken about this ad nauseum. I think, Gerard, I have with you as well a little bit, in terms of the racial component of this conversation, where it gets the young adult one is obviously the basis of this week, right, and everything that Trabold represents for this week. But speaking from my perspective, being young is one thing, but also the community that I come from is really not spoken of at all. If anything, it's don't talk about it. Like, don't talk about it. And like, I like how AJ laid out, like, talking to somebody's better than nothing. But some of these communities, you talk about it and you get hit upside the head, like, point blank, period. So like, I from you guys' perspective, from maybe some of the young adults that you're talking to who do come from some of these backgrounds, how relieved are they feeling that you guys are kind of normalizing this when they're struggling, but they can't go home to talk about it, because at home it's a curse word, So like, how have you guys seen that from that perspective?
I like that question, because you are right. And I'm going to be honest with you and totally transparent. I was one of those. Before that happened, I was that person. I'm Jamaican. I don't even think we have therapists in Jamaica. I don't even know they exist. Like, I mean, we just, in my culture, you don't talk about it. Not only Black culture, but Jamaican culture. Go get yourself some curry chicken, you all right. Like, that's how they deal with, I'm not feeling good. So Anthony, who's your age, Carl, called me up from college. And, he's like, I need to talk to somebody. This is before Matt had about 4 or 5 months. Called me from college, I need to talk to somebody, Mom. And I was like, boy, you fine. You went to McQuaid. You were a star athlete. You won't want for nothing. You got everything. You're fine. Go eat some food. You're good. I literally said that to him. I was part of the problem, in full transparency, because of my culture, right? And then when Matt passed away and I started doing research, and I said, I called my son up. What do you need? What can we do? Because I didn't understand it myself because of what you just said. So I was one of those people that it was like a curse word type of thing, right? And then as I start getting to know and start seeing, and then we started this movement, kids were reaching out, parents are reaching out, kids that have tried suicide are reaching out. I mean, we had counselors, mental health specialists, it was like we opened up a Pandora's box, but it wasn't just, it was Black and brown kids too. that was saying exactly what you're saying. Was like, we can't talk about our parents, we can't say this, but we're trying to normalize it so their parents will watch us. Is like, it's okay, it's good because we look like them, right? That's important. Representation matters even in that realm, Carl. Because like, oh, if Karen is saying that she's, she Black, Gerard Puerto Rican, maybe it's okay for me to talk to my kid. And that is definitely true because that comes up all the time. And that's why we go to city schools. We make sure we're still wearing our shorts. I'm doing Zymir signing today. I'm going to do it in shorts. Because that's important to send that message. And Carl, when I say you hit that on the head, it's something that we have to break that down in the Black and brown culture, because exactly what you're right, especially with Black boys. Boy, you fine, toughen up. You're being a sissy. You're there. It's something that's normal now.
Yeah, especially like I always heard as a kid, if I can't see it, then you all right. Like if I can't see the blood, that you all right. And but I think to take it a step further, what I noticed right away from this initiative 2 years ago was the fact that you guys have, not you guys, but like the athletes kind of took this initiative on, which helps out tenfold, especially when you see a football player. Like think about when you're 16, 17 years old and the coolest person in the school is the football quarterback or the left tackle who is 6'2", 270 pounds, and you think that he is macho man, right? And I know, once again, coming from an all-boys school, some of the most mentally aware people and people who are doing great things now were people who I thought were macho man, right? I thought them dudes was like Iron Man, like tough SOBs, all that good type of stuff. But then when you see that as a kid, like, man, you know what? Even the dude who looked like he can bench press 700 pounds can talk about something within him like that is cool. When you guys see that, obviously the regular students, you guys help out as well. But when you see the athletes, the football players, the gymnasts, the cheerleaders, those guys, those women, and those boys and girls take the initiative, I know that makes you guys feel good.
Yeah, and then that's why we started with athletes, actually, was because of that, right? Because they are the most popular people in the school. They're the ones that are, sports bring people together in a school, right?
It brings out leadership skills.
Yeah. So we actually started with the athletes, and then we went after the star athlete. Like last year, Jackson Green did it, who's as big a star as a stud as possible. We get the star athletes because we want everybody else to buy in to kind of normalize that. And now it's like normal now. Like 3 years later, everybody does it. And it doesn't matter who you are, what sport you play, the top player, the one that's averaging 40 points, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it certainly is a great part of it. And then one more thing to wrap up, because I don't want to keep you here for too long, but just the fact that, Matt Trabold passed away 3 years ago, which in the grand scheme of things is such a short amount of time. But for these high school athletes who get this coverage, not a lot of them at this point who are still playing Section 5 sports have gotten to experience Matt Trabold. You'd have to be a freshman in order to still be playing at this point. How nice is it to, continue his memory and, just talk about him and keep him in the conversation to some of the athletes who maybe didn't have, the honor of, kind of playing for him.
And that's important, keeping that name alive, because we want people to understand he was the true GOAT of this stuff, and we're just following in his footsteps. And that's why we always call it Matt Trabold. It's okay to not be okay week. We want to keep saying his name, and it's not a dirty thing to say. It's an awareness for us.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on the podcast. We appreciate the message. It's okay to not be okay. Matt Trabold week. You can find the resources on the Primetime 585 website. You can reach out to us. You can reach out to them. Reach out to somebody, because somebody is always caring and looking out for you. And, if you're going through something, we wish you the best as you're going through it. So thank you to Karen and Gerard for coming on the podcast. Thanks for having us, or thanks for coming on. And we really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us.
So there's our interview with Karen and Gerard Iglesia. Once again, we want to thank them for coming on our podcast. They're very busy this week, not only, going out to all these games, but the mental health initiative. I love the fact, how much they've grown from, X number of schools to 40, 50, whatever they've got this year. But now the fact that their kind of appearances are stretching out into, it's Matt Trabold month now. It's becoming so popular. So the conversation is a good one to have. It's a great one to have, and we appreciate being a part of it.
Yeah, my favorite part is when they said they started with 8 schools and now they're up to 51. So I can't imagine what this is going to look like. further down the line. But like you alluded to, just that conversation that we all just had right there is healthy from our perspective. So hopefully those at home that were able to listen to that help them out in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, they obviously know their hoops, but I think talking to them in that light is always the most unique part, because you see them, being themselves, showing the personality at the games, right? But when you actually get to sit down and talk with them about real life stuff, I think that's the cool stuff that I've been able to appreciate about them in my short span of knowing them.
Yeah, and it takes a big person to try and fix a problem that you yourself kind of admit that you were kind of a part of to a lesser extent. So just to have this conversation, we appreciate them once again for coming on our podcast. A conversation that, as always, continues throughout the year. Mental health never goes away, but we love shining a spotlight on it and just the great things that can come around these types of conversations. So no time for our usual segments. We got one more week left of Round Ball Roundup of the regular season. Some great games coming up. I mean, you got Monroe and Franklin. On the girls' side, you got Bishop, Kearney, and Schrader. Battle the last two AA champions. That'll be a great one as well. We'll have that for you on Round Ball Roundup. We've got sectionals coming up. We just had wrestling. Later tonight is swimming as Pittsburgh goes for 22 in a row. And I think, Carl, their coach was kind of alluding to some things they had in their mind, some goals. I looked at the prelims and, this is going to be, already over by the time we talk about it. But I think if I read the prelims correctly, they have the number 1 seed in every single race. All 11 swimming races. Right now, they're the favorites. So I think that's something they got their minds on, is winning every single event at the Class A championship later today.
Literally, what's in the water over there? Like, not like, oh, figure of speech, what they drinking over there in Pittsburgh. No, literally, what's in the water over there in Pittsburgh? That ain't right. That ain't cool. You know what? Once again, so one of y'all from y'all Pittsburgh families teach me and help me out. I mean, y'all keeping all the love for yourselves. That's cool. Dynasties, whoop-de-whoop. Can y'all help me out? Like, sheesh, I'm over here like, forget a breaststroke, backstroke, all that. Help me out. I just want to do it in a freestyle, doggy paddle, something. So, it's dope that they're doing what they're doing, man. And once again, they'll be finished, the sectionals, by the time this drops. But I can't wait to see them in person and just see how much domination am I going to watch.
It's going to be a lot. It's either going to be a lot or it's going to be a lot. So you'll have to tune in to News 8 on our website, rochesterfirst.com, to see exactly how that wrapped up. Of course, we'll talk about it next week. We got a lot of great, exciting stuff coming up. Hockey sectionals, basketball sectionals. Carl has a great feature coming your way on Super Bowl Sunday. It'll be on rochesterfirst.com, talking about a little East basketball personal story that some of you guys may know. We'll talk about that a little bit more next week. However, that will do it for us today on the glorious weather of the high school huddle. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, rochesterfirst.com, and YouTube. For Carl Jones, for Karen Iglesia, for Gerard Iglesia, I'm AJ Feldman. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and we will see you next time.